I'm going to invite up an incredible gentleman. He's the founder and managing partner of Heroic Ventures. He's going to be the moderator of the panel when we have some amazing investors up here. He was named by Tech America as Entrepreneur of the Year. He's a leading cyber thinker in digital privacy. He's an inventor on more than 10 US patents. He's an author of 2 books, one which is a New York Times #7 bestseller, which is called The Reputation Economy. Please put your hands together for the moderator of this panel. It's Michael.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Silicon Valley Open Doors on your 15th anniversary year, and Stas Kerman and Anna and Tatiana and the team who have put together an important session. And by the way, everybody knows now that Silicon Valley is part of a global ecosystem, but not everybody would have said it the same way 15 years ago. So you guys were pioneering even inside Silicon Valley. And so what was new is now obvious. And so that is very, very important and impressive to be 15 years ahead of the game. Okay, we have an extremely exciting day and panel and event for you this morning. And we have 8 panelists, 8 judges. Who has 8 people on a panel? Nobody except at Silicon Valley Doors. We're doing that now. So, as a result, we're going to introduce them. And we are going to keep them on a really, really, really strict timetable. There will be no droning on. There will be no long answers to questions. We're going to keep it clippy. They know that. These are brilliant, successful, accomplished, innovative, investing people who have capital and ideas to deploy. And they are amazing. And so we're going to welcome them all up, and I'll introduce them once they sit in their chairs one-on-one. Come on up, panel, and hooray for the panel! Hooray for the amazing panel on human-centered AI! The crowd goes wild. Okay, so we are going to begin by introducing our first panelist and judge at the very end, Kate Yuan. And Kate is very, very impressive, like all of our panelists. She is at Hemi Ventures, which is an early-stage VC that specializes in self-driving, which is important, mobility, biotech, and AI. And she has been at 2 self-driving companies in the past, Cruise Automation and AutoX, and I'm sure you know both of them. And she is responsible for mobility-related investment in Hemi. And so, Kate, you're going to set the example. You have an especially important job. You have exactly 2 minutes to introduce yourself as much as you want and to give us one insight, one key insight on 2019 and 2020. Take it away.
Great, thanks. I'm glad to join the panel, and thanks, Michael, for a very good introduction. As Michael said, Hemi is an early-stage fund. We have offices here and in New York, London, and Beijing. We do very sector-focused investments, so in mobility, especially self-driving, and then biotech and enterprise AI applications. I mostly do mobility investment because I worked at self-driving companies before that. One insight, I think when I first started working at self-driving, everyone take 2020 as a big deal. Maybe the year just sounds very futuristic, and everyone's like, there'll be self-driving everywhere in 2020. Well, the bad news is I don't think that's going to likely be the case. But the good news is I think self-driving, especially level 5 full autonomy, will be probably very common in specific use cases like trucking, like harbor, and many more specific use cases rather than having your Lyft and Uber being self-driving at your door. So I would say that's what I see in 2020. It's futuristic, but probably not that much so.
Well, that was awesome, and she did it in 1 minute and 6 seconds, which we should give you a round of applause for. Thank you very much, Kate. Everybody knows that panelists drone on, but Kate, you set a great example for everyone. Thank you. Our next amazing panelist is Ishwar Belani. Ishwar is a serial entrepreneur and a founding executive at a number of companies, some of which you probably know, including Rocket Fuel and Rubrik. He has now moved from serial entrepreneurship to parallel entrepreneurship as a founding partner of Symphony.ai. And this tees you up for an opportunity to tell us more about Symphony.ai and your key insight, or a key insight that you have for 2019 and 20 in 2 minutes. Ishwar.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. Good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here on the panel and looking forward to what the companies present. Symphony AI is a relatively new fund. We are a $1 billion investment fund with a blended investment model. So we do incubation as well as take minority stakes in companies like traditional VCs. But the interesting twist is we do M&A as well, and one of our strategies is to acquire companies and transform them. We see many different domains that are ripe for transformation as you think about AI and B2B opportunities. In fact, we completed 2 pretty sizable acquisitions this last week. One of them you might be familiar, a company called IASD. They are now part of the Symphony AI portfolio. Really excited about the prospects for them. And another one in the industrial IoT space, we bought a leader there called Azima Global. It's a new journey. We have a young portfolio, but looking to grow, and really excited to meet folks here and discuss synergies. In terms of an insight for this year or next, I think I'm going to be following Kate, so she's way ahead of me on the self-driving front, but I do believe that we'll see very early versions. I'm thinking version 0.5 of what I call the self-driving enterprise. And so if you think of different functions in the enterprise, finance or HR or IT or legal, each one of these areas is getting transformed with machine reasoning-based systems, so machines running machines, which will eventually lead to this vision of the self-driving enterprise. But we'll see version 0.5 of that in the next couple of years.
Great, that was awesome, and thank you very much, Ishar. Okay, so now, okay, our next panelist is David Cao, and David is very much of a piece of his work is very much consistent with the mission of Silicon Valley Open Doors. He's the organizer. That's great. He's the organizer of the largest Silicon Valley startup community, which is called Silicon Valley Entrepreneurs, which has over 100,000 members online and offline. And he's the founder of F50. That's F50, which is an investing network and one of the largest international investing networks. And he has personally invested in over 30 companies, and maybe he can tell us where those are if he's willing. David Cao, 2 minutes to introduce yourself and tell us your key insight for 2019 and 20.
Okay, so first, great to be here. The moderator asked me what it looks like 2019. The first quarter doesn't look very well. As many of you know that from all the data from PitchBook, from many data that the venture capital investment in Q4 and Q1 this year decreased a lot. That's what we always call it is a winter right now. That's why I'm so excited to be here. I see Anna and Stas must have done an amazing job. We had been collaborating with SVOD for the last many years. I also personally attended many of SVOD events in the past. I believe Anna did an amazing job. I always said that if it is winter in North Pole, must be summer in South Pole. The reason you are here, you must have something you truly believe and excited about it. As overall, the decrease of the venture capital investment in the last 12 months, we believe that it is time for the earlier stage investors, especially angels and the seed investors. And also, the Uber's IPO actually make many people disappointed as the end result. But we still believe that can it get worse? My personal belief is that it will be getting better every year, because right now it is not a great time for the earlier stage startups. But with the investors, earlier stage investor support, we believe the very great founders still have amazing opportunities. Thank you.
Perfect, that was great, and thank you for that vote of confidence for early stage investing. And those of us who are in early stage investing support your comments. And now I'm going to take a small pause because I've just realized there's a slide on the screen. That is in fact me, which is amazing that Silicon Valley Open Doors cannot afford a current photograph. Does that look like me at all? I mean, look at that. That's like 10 years old. I was like, I was like 19. I mean, that's you like me like this or like that? Okay. Like this, okay, it's better like this, okay. So, okay, now the very famous Ilya Gelfenbein, who is also one of our extremely impressive and august and accomplished panelists. Ilya started a company you may know called API.ai. And what a great name, API.ai. And he was the founder and the CEO and sold it to Google. It now became Google Dialogflow. And now he is the head of Google Assistant investments, which is very, very important part of the ecosystem. Ilya, 2 minutes to introduce yourself. You tell you whatever you want, and an insight about 2019 and 2020.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Good morning. At Google Assistant Investments, we are an early stage investor, so investing in seed, Series A, well, with some exceptions. And our pure goal is helping the ecosystem around voice, conversations, contextual use cases, personalization. So basically, anything that could become a valuable addition to voice assistants in the next 2-3 years. So we invest in specific applications, platforms, verticals like healthcare, hospitality, education, and, well, pretty much anything else. In terms of the insights, well, I'm mostly focused on voice and voice assistants. So I believe 2015 to 2018 were the years of the platforms. So the platforms were growing, and there was a lot of hype around voice assistants starting, appearing, becoming an important part of your daily life. And 19 and 20 and probably 21 will be the years of third-party ecosystems around these assistants. So the platforms are advanced enough now so that developers can start building on top of the systems and get new users, get a lot of attention, and, well, right now is a good time to be first in this. Thank you.
This is great. Guys, you are doing so well at being punchy and succinct and saying interesting things so quickly. Our next we all appreciate it. Our next panelist is Ken Sobajima. And Ken and I have the great good fortune of being on stage for the second time in 2 years together. And he is a very established investor and definitely a living example of the spirit of SVOD. He is the partner at KDDI. And if you know KDDI, you know that they are the second biggest telco in all of Japan. It's a $300 million fund with 15 portfolio companies in Silicon Valley or in the United States. And one recent exit that might be of interest to you, they invested in an Israeli company called Aspectiva, which was recently acquired by Walmart. Ken, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and give us a key insight for 19 and 20.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ken Sobajima, the Senior Director of Investments at KDDI. As he mentioned that we are the second largest telecom company in Japan. Everybody knows in Japan, nobody knows here. Great challenge for me. But my goal is to support the startup here to go into Japan market and generate a new business. How they can leverage our consumer asset in Japan market. We have over 50 million mobile customers. So one thing to share today is, of course, the 5G. The 5G is a great keyword for every telecom today. So we will be deploying the 5G system to the stadium or shopping center or a theme park where there are a lot of people there. So before 5G, client device is a smartphone with human. But in 5G, so everything will be connected to the internet, like a desk or chair or door. So everything will be connected to the internet. That means that we got a bunch of data. We can use a bunch of data itself for the consumer side. So recently, I'm looking at some emerging technology like 5 senses. Eye is a computer vision camera, and ear is the sound, and a sensor, and the touching is the haptics, something like that. So how they could help our life in the real field. So that's my interesting. Thank you.
Terrific, and thank you very much. That was excellent. Thank you, Ken. So the next panelist is an extremely accomplished investor, Ashmeet Sidana. And Ashmeet is the founder of Engineering Capital, which invests in software companies with a deep technical expertise or insight. So a very technical risk-focused investor. And by the way, we need more of those because so many people take market risk but not technical risk, so thank you for that. He came to VC from VMware. You've probably heard of VMware, a very technical company, and he ran the ESX server, their flagship product, and he was also the first investor in Azure, which had an IPO, Menlo Security, Prismo, vFunction, and others. Ashmeet, welcome to the panel. 2 minutes, please, to introduce yourself and your key insight for 19 and 20.
Thank you, Michael. Before I introduce myself, I wanted to suggest that I have a coupon for Dollar Shave Club if you're interested after the panel. That might help you with the photo. So I run engineering
I think you talked to my dad. I think when he conspired on that one, yeah.
Thank you. I run Engineering Capital, which, as Michael said, focuses on taking technical risk, which you would think is the most common way we invest in Silicon Valley, but unfortunately that's not true anymore. And so in that spirit, I'll offer a couple of insights to you, which are actually not mine. But if you're going to read a single paper this year, there's a paper that was published by UC Berkeley called "The Future is Serverless." We've been talking about the end of Moore's Law in Silicon Valley now for about 5 or 7 years, but nobody's been talking about what's the future, what comes after that. And so if you're going to read a single academic paper this year, I recommend Googling "The Future is Serverless." And if you prefer video, you can go online on YouTube and watch the Turing Award lecture for Professor Hennessy and Professor Patterson, Hennessy being the president of Stanford, the lecture that they gave, which also has some fabulous insights about where we are headed in computer science.
That's terrific, and I love the reference. Thank you for the academic reference, because it shows how serious you are, and more references are useful. Our final panelist, who is certainly not our last but certainly not least panelist, is Monali Jain, who has been a senior leader at very famous companies. You know them: GE, Accenture, PayPal. She has also been an active angel investor for 5 years. She is invited to speak on hundreds of panels around the Valley, and she's also very active in outdoors. She's a mountaineer. She has scaled Mount Whitney, Mount Kilimanjaro, and she's gotten to the Everest Base Camp. And she's also a skydiver. Monali, welcome, and 2 minutes for your introduction and your key insight.
All right, thank you for that introduction. Really appreciate covering all the points. I think working with all the technology companies, in addition to the big names, I also work with few startups. So Enancia was the company in 1998 that actually defined voice recognition and voice applications. It didn't exist, but all of that technology was in one piece of computer at my home, and then we defined the voice XML tags in 2000, which became a foundation for Tell-Me networks as well as mobile area. So what I see in AI for last 5 years, a lot of work has been done, especially driven by the self-driving car innovation that needed the computer vision to be perfected, that needed you to see where the road is turning and react to it, right? I think somebody said it right. It was just the input of what you see, and then output is only gas, pedal, accelerator, and where do you turn the wheel. There is a big piece that's missing for the next 2 years that I see is the last piece of a puzzle, is not voice recognition or voice AI, but a sound recognition. When a crash happens, it's the exact same sound no matter where you are in the world. When the weather changes and rain comes down, it's the exact sound no matter where you're in the world. When you're in the mountains, you look at the clouds and which direction they're going. It's not about the visual, it's also the sound that tells you the speed of it. So the innovation that's pending in sound and transition from natural language processing to natural sound processing is where I see the future going.
That's a very interesting insight, and thank you. Okay, so I will give 2 seconds on what I do at Heroic Ventures and what we do at Heroic Ventures. There is Itai Maron, my business partner from Israel, who's based here in Palo Alto with us. We have been around since 2016. We've invested in almost 40 companies. We invest only in Silicon Valley and Israel and a little bit in Colorado. So Silicon Valley and Israel is what we do. We raised our first institutional fund last year, which we have not yet announced. So it's not private information, but it's not super public either. If you look at our website, there's very little on it, but we're rather active in being the first money in investor. The first money in investor. If you've had other angels at a lower price, we cannot invest. We're the first money investor, as it not first institutional money, the first money. And we are only in Silicon Valley and in Israel. And a key insight that I would like to offer for 2019 and 2020 is Kubernetes, Kubernetes, Kubernetes. So many of you, who knows what Kubernetes is? Or think, I'm not going to ask you to tell us what it is. I'm not going to embarrass you. So if you know what Kubernetes is, you probably have a strong opinion about it. And if you know what Kubernetes is, you might be someone who says, wow, that's exciting, that's the natural evolution of software development and so forth. If you do not know what Kubernetes is, I encourage you to learn what Kubernetes is, and I am interested in investing in the field that is enabled by Kubernetes. Okay, we're going to begin now with some Q&A and some conversation, and then we'll turn it over to the pitches after we have a little bit of Q&A, because the panel has done such a good job of introducing themselves so quickly, they've given us time for a little bit more conversation. Ken, I'd like to start with you. So when we talk about human-centered AI, one very important population of humanity is the elder population, the aging society. This is an enormously important and pressing issue in Japan. In fact, Japan has the most advanced aging society economy in the world, and it becomes an opportunity, but also a very big threat to the GDP and also for the society. How can, by the way, this is important also in Europe. Europe is also beginning to die. Most countries in Europe have a replacement rate that is below replacement rate, especially Italy, Germany, Southern Europe, most of Western Europe. I believe the UK might be the only country that does not have a replacement rate of the major European GDP countries. Even the United States has a poor replacement rate apart from immigration. So a lot of the advanced economies of the world, aging society, the bolus, the large population is getting much older. Can you offer us some insight, perhaps, on what kinds of companies you think might be interesting for Japan or other parts of the world in a human-centered AI for the aging society?
Yes, so in Japan, there are a lot of elder people. It's getting bigger and bigger market. And most of the people are trying to go into that market itself, but it's so hard. So from the technology perspective, they are providing a great solution to the elder people, but they are not familiar with the technology itself. They don't know how to use the technology or smartphone itself. So I can teach how to use the smartphone to my father, dad, and mom. They don't use the smartphone today. But as she mentioned that, the technology improves our life, sounds. So if something happens in the house, maybe we can do something. They don't do anything, Today, at the Uber, nobody pays the cash itself in the car. There's no payment. In the Amazon space, maybe we will not order anything. They will know what we need in the future. So I think that technology helps us more easily, especially for the elder people. They don't do anything, touching the smartphone, touching the sensor, anything. So that is the key thing for me to improve the market itself.
That's terrific. Kate, I wonder if I can direct a similar question to you. Obviously, in mobility, it's a very important topic for the aging population. Do you see any special application or special promise or opportunity or risk for startups that might be interested in the mobility picture for human-centered AI for an aging population in different markets?
I think certainly, I think a lot of self-driving car companies position themselves as like saving lives, right, and helping people who are disabled or have problem driving around. So I think it could be potentially a very good application, but there are certainly some potential risks as well. For instance, Waymo is, so the current self-driving car, they're getting the license with no human, no test driver behind the wheel. They can do teleoperation, which is required. So we invested in a teleoperation company called SVOD2019 that's co-invested with Google Gradient Ventures. But just imagine if someone who's not so kind of savvy with technology, and all you can do when edge cases happen is somebody dial in and talk to you or help you navigate a vehicle from afar, then I think it would probably be very hard in terms of how familiar the person is with this kind of new technology. So I think there's definitely a bigger education curve for the population, like senior, than us who are like pretty much very familiar with the human machine interface, like when we take an Uber, when the Uber driver drive a ride sharing cars, it's pretty much we're already familiar with the technology. So I think for self-driving car to be kind of popular everywhere, especially helping the elders and more minority or people who need it, the education curve would probably needs to be addressed by startups, by government, by many stakeholders in the ecosystem.
Perhaps there are even, this is great, thank you, and perhaps there are even opportunities for tech-enabled wheelchairs, tech-enabled walkers, tech-enabled things like this that might have some more data that flow to the children or to the caretakers, perhaps?
Yep.
Okay, great. And so now, building on that in a way, Ilya, you know so much about voice, you know so much about interaction AI. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about multimodal AI, and which is part of certainly human-centered, right? We talk with our hands, we talk with our expression, we talk with our sounds. Can you maybe teach us something about multimodal AI and what you might be seeing, whether at Google or just in your personal insight?
Well, yeah, obviously AI is becoming multimodal, and
what is multimodal?
yeah, so that's basically like, well, ability to interact with machines, with services, not just through the voice, but through any other interfaces like visual, and obviously like that includes both input and output, right? So like these days, the obvious things are, again, like in like voice systems, they are augmented by graphical things and gesture recognition and so on, right? What is important is that in many cases, one source of a signal is just not enough, right? And it's not because like it doesn't have like enough data, but it's rather the signals should be combined for the system to learn about any specific like, well, types of interactions, intents, and so on, right? So basically, when you say like, I like it, right? But then you like shake your hand in some way, or like
I like it.
Probably do something.
I like it so much.
Yeah, exactly. So like natural language understanding will not be enough. Probably sound recognition, well, sound understanding will help a little bit, right? But then you need to add this like graphical part, image recognition, and so on. So like, well, body sensors probably.
And is this a big opportunity in the next few years, do you think, or do you think it's not yet ripe? Do you think it's not ready? For investment and for exploration for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it is definitely a big opportunity for specific use cases. For example, in automotive, that would be huge. Just because you do not want to go deep into very specific, so say while like driving the car, you could be involved in like in a conversation with it, but you probably do not want to make it like really long and so on. But what could be really important is that, well, some kind of gesture should be recognized immediately, or like paired with voice and recognized, right? So sometimes it's not how
perhaps if I'm looking behind me too long as the driver, maybe the car sends me an alert to look at the road again, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ilya, I like it, and I mean it. Ashmit, back to you. Some of the things that you said, sorry, Ishwar, forgive me. Forgive me, sorry about that. Ishwar, I was thinking of you because you are at Symphony. Ishwar, you have talked about a number of investments you've made that are big data investments, as I hear them, and also infrastructure investments that can give rise to an ecosystem or a platform where applications might sit on top of it. You might also do application businesses, but you, I think, have an insight at Symphony into some of the infrastructure that can give rise to human-centered AI. Does that sound true? And if so, what insight can you offer as to what other infrastructure pieces from the Symphony AI perspective might be valuable?
Sure.
And what applications might be useful on top of them?
Sure. So what you've pointed to is somewhat accurate. We do have 100+ AI engineers that are building a common AI platform. So our thesis was that if we're going to do 15 or 20 companies off of this first fund, it doesn't make sense to reinvent the AI wheel for each one of them. So can we build this common platform, and we call this Eureka. Now, we have a very interesting view in terms of the different generations of AI. So to answer your question in terms of the missing infrastructure pieces, so what we've been through in general over the last couple of decades is what we internally refer to as Gen 1 and Gen 2 AI. So Gen 1 AI was all the shallow learning based approaches, that we've had in the 90s. It used to be called data mining or statistical analysis, classic linear logistic regression Bayesian based approaches. And then we had the evolution of deep learning. Now, clearly, these platforms, have all these capabilities. But where we are interested is in Gen 3, which is machine reasoning based capabilities, not just machine learning. And then there'll be a Gen 4 where you have systems that learn to learn. So they can be taught by humans initially, and they will, you can think of them as like a 3 or 4-year-old child that, just learns by observing or by their parents telling them things to do. Then you have Gen 5, which will be imagination machines. And these are machines, and this is a really important inflection point, where they will not need humans to learn anymore. They come up with their own thesis, they take action based on any kind of policy. If those actions result in benefits, they add those skills and learnings to their knowledge base and expand.
Should we be excited about that, or nervous about that, or both? How do you feel about that? How should we feel about that?
So one thing I've learned about the waves of innovation is, these come as big tsunamis and you shouldn't fight them. So you have to surf them instead. So they're coming. And these generations actually aren't very far off. We expect we'll hit Gen 5 in about 8 or 9 years. And so at least from our perspective, at Symphony AI, it's, what are the value creation opportunities that can be driven off of each one of these different generations? Gen 1 and Gen 2 created many companies, several billions of dollars in net worth. Can we do that with Gen 3? Can we do that with Gen 4? That's how we're thinking about it. That's what our 100 AI engineers are building in the infrastructure side. But all our investments are very, very solution focused.
It's terrific. Manali, similar infrastructure, thank you very much for that. Manali, similar infrastructure kind of question for you. So we talked about some of the applications of human-centered AI. You referenced some infrastructure that you helped give birth to some years ago and helped foster some years ago. Perhaps picking up on your environmental inputs theme, what infrastructure, the sounds, the AI sounds, what kinds of infrastructure or what kinds of applications do you think are necessary to be built now?
Okay, it's a very broad question, right? And I'm glad that you asked that instead of asking what everybody says, are robots going to take over the jobs? And then you go through the application route. So I think the assumption that many people had when they have the fear of somebody taking over the jobs, a particular application of vacuuming the house, for example, taking over the cleaning lady jobs. I think the assumption itself was the humans are supposed to do jobs. That fear is driven by the concept that you're born to do a job. But the fact is, we're born to live life. Like he mentioned, how to use the technology to live life for the aging parents is kind of the bigger problem that we need to solve together. What that also means is you need to come up with the new family systems. You need to come up with new government organizations, something like United Countries of Earth instead of the states, right? And those set of applications, there's a lot of talk about how the elections within one country are impacted, but there may be an election across the entire planet Earth, right? So those applications are fundamental for our living being, and how our family systems, how our governments, how our income is seen, or how our job is seen as a source of income, right? I know this is a very high level, but all of that happens through the influence, which is through voice. And the trust is built through what you see. So there are two fundamental reactions that humans have. What you see is with the trust, which is what we did at PayPal, and what you hear is what you react to, the voice. And both of them can shape the entire 10 billion, 15 billion people, how they interact with each other.
That's great. That was great, and also a very bold prediction, statement of the future. Ashmeet and then David quickly. Ashmeet, if you can, offer us one example of a worthy technical problem that is also ready to be solved by the right group of entrepreneurs and investors. Perhaps you can offer us an example of something that you wish people were working on right now that's worthy of deep technical work and is also ready to give itself up and be solved. In the field of AI, perhaps.
I have a whole list of these problems. I wouldn't go to AI. I'll probably stay on the infrastructure side. I think it's very interesting. Incredibly active area right now, cybersecurity. Right. How do we build secure systems? We have lots of band-aids right now, lots of point solutions. I think it's time for a revolution there.
Great, that's terrific. And now, David, bring us home. as the most international voice on the panel, with investors in your network from all over the world, what is the advantage that you see in Silicon Valley right now, and what is something that you think is offered elsewhere? And then we're going to bring it home and we're going to carry on with these terrific pitches.
That's a very broad question. First, I strongly believe that the AI in the infrastructure area is quite being overly looked and invested. Of course, there are opportunities there as well. However, I think we are moving, society is moving in the wrong direction. Is improving efficiency. This means cutting the people, replace the workers. What I encourage our investors, entrepreneurs to look at that. How can we use AI and the robotic to improve the living conditions for humans? So I do believe that beyond the infrastructure itself, there's AI combined with robotics. There are many, many use cases can be developed, can be used to improve the human's life. In particularly, the healthcare area is a huge, huge area, which the AI together with robotic can be combined to significantly improve our ability to combat the health issues, the disease, and also older people's mobility is also one of the areas we have been looking. We see the future is that the humans can live far longer than current generation, maybe like 150 years old. With that said, the AI empowered technologies can play a significant role to improve the living conditions for the human.
That's terrific, and thank you very much to SVOD, our first panel of the day. Thank you to our terrific panelists. Please join me in thanking our terrific panelists. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Dan.
Michael, that was amazing. I don't know what Ashmeet was saying, but that beard looks amazing on you, man. So I like the beard. I love the beard. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got these 1-minute pitches. Judges, you don't have to worry at this point about the criteria and the rubric in front of you. Neither the investors are up in the front white tables. Again, if any of you in the crowd are an investor with a fund, please come and sit at the white table because we'd love to get your perspective as well. But these 1-minute pitches, just quick ones. Some of them are in the expo space, so do meet them outside, and they can give you more than 60 seconds. It's just a teaser of what they're building. So first up, let's get Evgeny, who is going to be talking about an automated video editor.
Just to clarify, these are the ones that we don't enter the input for?
Yes, just smile, be kind to them, and that is it. All right. Come on over. Oh, that's right.
Colleagues, dear friends, good morning. My name is Evgeny. I am co-founder of Naive Software. Naive Software is an automatic video editor backed by computer vision and machine learning techniques. According to Facebook, there are 57 million people spending up to 3 weeks just to edit 1 day of footage. They're paying hundreds of dollars to some other people to do it for them.
I have the mic.
With our software, they can do it in a few hours. Video editing is about distinguishing bad frames for the beautiful frames. But what is beauty? We've made a big research to find out what the beauty is. And our machine learning engineers from Kaggle Top 30 managed to put this concept into the product. And then we learned how to deliver this product to the target audience. It is an exciting journey. I invite all of you to join. Thank you very much. I brought some demo videos on the flash.
All right. Awesome. Excellent. Well done. So that is a great example of something that you can share online. So just a reminder, hashtag SVOD2019. That is the year that we're in. If you're wondering what's happening over there, he is bribing them. And that's allowed, I guess. No, he's brought some of the edited videos for you guys to watch in your own time. So again, hashtag SVOD2019, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your social media platform of choice is. Please do share what you're hearing. Let's now invite up our next person. Who's going to go up next? Gal or Dwayne? Who wants to go? Come on up. Dwayne here is going to be talking about industrial IoT SaaS company that he's got. All right, go for it, 60 seconds.
Thank you. I'm the CEO and founder of Data Inventions. We're an industrial IoT SaaS company. We have customers and revenue and a product that is fully built out and ready to scale. And I want to share a customer comment that really sums up what we're all about. We connect information from ERP systems with data from operators and machines on the shop floor, and we give management real-time insights so that they can make better decisions. And what's really unique about us is that we're giving them a product that they can use and begins to add value immediately. So this $18 million manufacturer, we're going to save over $750,000 this year. And that's really just the start. By getting the data right and really owning the user interface, we can start to expedite the flow of intelligence and improvements in these companies. And the super connection here today is that the complexity in these manufacturers really demands that we use modeling and AI to automate the analytics. There's no other way to make it actionable. Where all the value is generated is when we can tell people on the floor something's out of target and they need to act on it right now. So super excited to be here with the best and the brightest, and I look forward to meeting you out in the expo.
Thanks so much. Well done. Let's give Dwayne a hand. Again, if you want to find out more about any of the speakers, the investors over here, we have a messenger bot. So if you just go to Facebook Messenger and type in SVOD, if you want to find out what time lunch is or where these guys are positioned, go on the messenger bot. There's also an SVOD app that you're welcome on either the iOS or the Play Store. So do take a look at those as well for more information. Next up, we've got Gao, who's going to be talking about saving marriages with practical robotics.
Hi, everyone. So I want to pick up and echo what was discussed here today. There are 500 million items that we fold manually each day at homes in the US. This is a chore. It's not a job, it's a chore. And we want to get rid of it. And we invented a robotic laundry folder that allows you to fold this laundry in under 5 minutes, not 500 million, of course, 25 items, which is an equivalent of a laundry load. And if you're interested to see how it works, we have in the expo a video of it working. It went through field tests, and we would love to take it to market. We basically went past the research phase, so the engineering is already done, but we want to bring it to 255,000 customers who are already registered, and not only for homes, also for businesses. So self-service, there are 660,000 locations, shared laundry rooms across the US, and we want to put it there, and you could pay a few dollars and fold your laundry in under 5 minutes. So if you want to learn more, I'm here in the expo. Come and see me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well done, well done. All right, so before we do our 5-minute pitches, I want to say a few things. A room like this, lights like this, amazing people like this, a sound team like that, doesn't just happen. It only happens in collaboration with incredible partners and sponsors. So can we give a quick, big hand to everyone who's been involved with funding and financing and making this happen? The other thing I want to mention is that this evening we have an incredible award ceremony. Of course, we're here to celebrate ideas and innovation, but it's fun to have a little bit of a competition. It's fun to celebrate those that rise above the others, because after all, not every business succeeds, and we don't believe in just giving an award to everyone. We do want to identify those that really stood out, and you guys all have a role in making that happen. So the judges here have in front of them these laptops and pieces of paper with which they are going to be judging, but you can play along as well. So bit.ly/SVOD, that's where it can happen. Also, you guys have been given some paper money. So if you like an idea, please go give it to them, because this evening we have an audience award, and that is you guys funding with your money. You can give them real money too. They probably would appreciate that. But if you don't want to part with your own money, give them this paper money instead. And then we'll award one of them the audience award, and then these guys here are picking 3 awards. And that's happening tonight. Of course, that is the highlight, but just as an add-on, we'll also have wine and cheese afterwards. But the main thing is the award ceremony. The wine and cheese is not to tempt you to stay. It's just, if you happen to still be here, we will give you wine and cheese. So that's what's happening this evening. You guys sticking around? Yes. Right, because who cares about dinner and kids and other obligations, right? This is the place to be. So please stay. It's going to be a great, great day. All right, let's get started. Here's the rule. I'll make an announcement, and then you guys cheer, make them feel really, really good, because 5 minutes may seem like a lot of time, but it's a lot to share your entire life worth of effort. And so first up, we've got a Polish chess champion who's coming to pitch his idea to you. His name is Kuba. Please put your hands together for Kuba. Come on, let's celebrate him. All right, there's your clock. Your 5 minutes starts right now.
Good morning, everyone. How's the day so far? I am Jakub Čakon, data scientist and co-founder of Neptune ML, data science work sharing hub. So we live in the age of data. There is 2.5 quintillion data bytes generated every single day. And the market for turning this data into value is expected to quickly go over $200 billion. And the companies, of course, and VCs are investing billions in AI projects across all of the verticals. But the people that are actually developing those models, that are building those solutions, those are data scientists. Those are the guys that are squeezing the juice from the data. And yet, 85% of those projects fail. 85% of those projects fail. And the big part of the problem is that the data science teams, they lack tools for collaboration, knowledge sharing is difficult, and keeping the knowledge is difficult as well, and the visibility into what your team is doing is not there. And when that data scientist leaves the company, the data, the juice, the IP leaves with them. And bottom line is, data scientists are missing the proper tooling. And the industry is quickly realizing that tracking of the experimentation process will soon be an absolute must. And if you think about software development, developing code without a good place to share, store your code, review, and collaborate with people was extremely difficult. That was the time before GitHub came into picture. Neptune is bringing collaboration to data science teams by making knowledge keeping and knowledge sharing easy. So let me show you how it's done. So take your typical data science team. They are working with a lot of different tools, but Neptune is the glue that lets them work together. So our data scientist is developing a model, and he can work with the tools that he likes and easily integrate with Neptune and log all of that experimentation process into a central knowledge repository. Once it is there, he can talk about those things in the language and objects that he understands with other data scientists and answer questions quickly. And when they, when they ask those questions and solve the problems, they can communicate to the manager with no additional overhead. It's simple. And when the developer needs to put that in production, he already has all the pieces that he needs in there, attached to every single experiment. And what happens when the data scientist leaves the company and you have to onboard a new person? Well, it's simple. You just add that person to a project, and that person can quickly see what worked, what didn't, what to do next, and can pick up where the others left it. And we know it works. Up till date, there was 250,000 AI experiments tracked with Neptune across 3,500 projects. We have clients, enterprise clients, and investors that have already put 1.65 behind our vision. And the best part is that the clients, the users, they love it, and they're willing to share it with the world. So, of course, there's competition. There are startups and general purpose tools. Of course, our advantage against general purpose is that we are domain specific. We are tailored for data scientists. And we are different from the startups because we are extremely lightweight and easy to integrate. And we focus on collaboration. Now, our model is simple. There is a subscription, monthly subscription that scales with the number of projects you run with Neptune. And we have a SaaS and on-prem versions. And we have a great team behind it. We have experienced developers, data scientists, designers, and business people. With our CEO, who has already built a 200-strong software company, and advisors that help us go further. Now, I want you to think about something. When GitHub was created, there were 10 million software developers in the world. By the time that number grew to 21 million, it was acquired for $7.5 billion. Now, today, we are at a very early stage in AI development market with only 600,000 data scientists out there. But this number is expected to go to 5 million in the next 5 years. And we are in the position to be the GitHub of AI development. And we want you to join us in this mission. Thank you so much, and I would love to talk to you. Thank you.
Nice, man. Nailed it. Nailed it. Such a good pitch. Are we going to start with you guys? Oh, don't go anywhere.
Sorry.
Come over here.
Sorry for that.
This is the hard part. We have to answer the questions.
I wanted to create it.
So we'll start with questions here, and then people at the white table, we've got a mic for you as well, so just wink at me or raise your hand or whatever, and we'll get a mic to you. Question? Yes, go for it.
Do you see this collaboration happening across companies and organizations or within an organization itself?
Okay.
And who do you sell it to?
So it's within the organization. That's data science teams that are using it to communicate, especially when they're distributed and some people work in somewhere else or just work on different infrastructure or different languages. So that's facilitating the work inside of the organization. But I could easily see teams, like larger teams across the board, or like exchanging some parts of the projects and in software, sort of software houses like Accenture or things like that.
It's a question. There we go.
So my question is about your target market. You define it as data scientist, but how is it globally distributed? And where do you see this skill set being built much faster than other places?
That's a good question. Well, basically, it's built for every data science team. That's how it builds. You can actually integrate it with whatever. Every data science team, I should probably mention, that codes. Okay, and now our clients are in Europe, mostly in Europe, although we have just signed a contract with a research group at Yale. But it's a global market. Like the great opportunity that we haven't yet used is the US market. So that's something that we definitely want to capitalize on in the next year.
Jacob, this side.
If you were to quantify the impact of your tool in terms of a hard ROI, how would you do that?
That's a very good question. And as a data scientist, I don't want to sell some very rough, very biased estimate. It's the only thing that I can give you is that how our users like it, and our clients, I could give you use cases and how they say that it improved them. I don't have the ROI on that, and I think, frankly, it's extremely difficult to build a test that then give a good estimate rather than just some random number. So sorry, but it's difficult to give that ROI.
Any questions from the floor? Can we get a mic out? Again, please give your name, their fun name, and then your question.
First of all, Ilana Golan, Home Run Ventures, great pitch. I'm trying to figure out, first of all, how much adaptability do you really need for each customer to ramp up on this? You said it's a quick integration, but it sounds like there's definitely going to be some habit changing and to get the data in. And I would like to iterate a little bit on what Eshwar was asking, because I assume when you go to a customer, you do justify with some return on investment, or we're going to shrink your time, or we're going to help you with something. So if you can clarify a little bit of the return on investment, okay, even if it's not quantified by days or hours, but at least understand a little bit what's the value.
Okay. So on the side of integration, what Neptune does, it tracks the metadata of your process, of your experiments, right? So you don't put the data in there. That means you can actually make a decision at the level of your team to start using that and just plug it into your code. So there is a few liner integration with the code, right? So that's on the side of the integration. It is actually 10 minutes. We've actually had people that started with 10 minutes working with Neptune. So that's on that side. On the side of the ROI, we have teams that said that this saved them 20%. But it's it's sort of a 20% of the time that people spend searching, in different tools and just finding things and sharing things. So but it's a 1 point. It's very difficult for me to accept the 1 point, one observation, estimate. But those are some of the numbers.
Super. Jakub, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so
Very
much.
well done.
Thank you.
So I have actually been quite seriously thinking about getting a plane with a lot of flying around the world. And this next gentleman told me that the Cirrus is his favorite plane. 4-seater, single engine, is super fast, 300 miles an hour. So if any of you are thinking of buying a plane, talk to this gentleman, because in addition to being an entrepreneur, he is also, he's flown over 700 hours. He's also got a commercial license. So if the startup doesn't work, I guess you'll see him working on American Airlines, possibly. Please put your hands together for Alexander.
Can you hear me? Oh, wonderful. So I'll be happy to share my flying stories during the break, but today I'm going to talk about the robotics. And in Badger Robotics, I'm responsible for the product and strategy development, and I'm going to talk about the industrial robots. And everybody knows that the industrial robots are very efficient, and our goal is to enable this efficiency to small and medium series production. So if you look at this masterpiece of engineering art and how precise it is and how cool is that, you start asking yourself why the robots are not everywhere, why you can't see them. And then you'll find out that there are two main limitations of the robotic penetration. The first one, the robots are zero tolerant to any kind of deviations in the working piece or its position. The second problem, it will cost a fortune to reprogram this production line for a different product. So basically, there are industries which are fit to those limitations, like automotive or electronics, and you have a huge penetration of the robots there. And there are industries which are not able to work with that preciseness. And basically, the key limitations, as I said, they're not adaptable to deviation, and it's a very high reprogramming cost. So if you change in your product frequently, then you will find out that the reprogramming the robots will cost you as much as you're saving on the robot production. So we're basically looking at this. If you look at the robotic market, taking what I've said into account, so we have a 48 billion market, which is currently mainly delivered by the high volume, low mix production, and it's about 10,000 manufacturers there. And the moment when you can give adaptability to the robot, and that's exactly what we're doing, we're talking a much, much more bigger opportunity. And within this opportunity, the software piece which will make it happen, and we're not developing the software, we're only developing the software and selling by the SaaS model, is actually give us a market opportunity of about 10 billion, which is very exciting. So let me tell you how we're doing that. So we developed a software which takes the 3D model, the information about technological operation, and automatically converts that into real-time program for robotic cell. And we're easily working with any kind of deviation or any kind of orientation of the working piece because we're generating the program all the time as a new setup. So see how simple it works. So you're loading the 3D model, then you're selecting the operation going to be performed. So here we're talking about the ground painting. And then you start working with the 3D model, just selecting the surfaces you need to paint. And you can select the sequence, you can select the parameters which you want to paint. And then the moment when you're done with it, you're saving and sending it to production, the same like you're sending a document to a printer. And then the operator of the robotic cell only have to move the piece somewhere in the working zone. And then you will see that technical vision will detect, on the left side, will detect what's the piece, how it corresponds to the original 3D model, what are the deviations. Then the program for the robotic cell will be generated in seconds, and then the whole show starts. Very simple as that. So where we're now, we currently adopted our technology to welding, cutting, and painting, and much more to come. And we are technology independent. So we currently have 5 installations in different countries, which deliver us revenue about $1 million in 2019. We have very deep cooperation with a number of industrial leaders how to adopt our technology to their products. And we're launching our US operations in second half of the year, or basically starting now. So we have a number of competitors. Clearly, all the guys who are doing offline programming considered as competitors, but they're not doing this real time, and they don't deliver this real-time adaptability like we do. So our team, we're 35 people right now, out of which 25 are developers. And it's not like a conventional programmers, but they're more like a scientists in the technical vision or reverse kinematic problem using the C++ as an instrument. And our founder is a serial entrepreneur and delivered 4 successful businesses the last 18 years. And even our core business team have very much heavy background in maths and engineering. And we are self-financed till now, so our founder invested $3.9 million up to now, and we're looking for $5 million before the seed round A in 2020 will have the US traction. Thank you very much.
Well done. Super. Come stand over here in the middle, and we'll start with questions from the stage. If anyone's got a question on either side. Yes, the mic's right next to you. Go for it.
I can't believe that everything was so clear.
My question is really about barriers to entry. I think this is a pretty complex place for you to enter yourself into the market, and then the competitors that you showed were pretty big companies.
They are. That's why. Oh, sorry.
So tell me top 3 barriers for you to enter in the market and for other competitors to stay out.
Solid question.
Okay. So 3 barriers for us to enter the US market. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're absolutely right, sir. It's I mean, the industry we're working is a very long phase of cell process. So that's why we're not establishing the sales organization by ourselves, and we're partnering with the big manufacturers like Fanuco, Yaskawa or Kuka, with whom we are actually building our technology in their products, and that's how we're reaching the market. And that's why I'm very confident that we can do it better, and we have, with some of them already, technology approved, and we're in a physical process of creating the product. So that's why we're very confident that we're even better than competitors, because the competitors existing for quite a long time, and you're absolutely right, those companies are really sometimes big, but they're delivering the solutions for the automotive or this industry with the high volume, low mix production, where the offline program will be enough, and the switch between the products is not so often. So we actually, whenever we're producing a thing, only once for us, it takes seconds, but we're continuously producing the new product.
All right, quick responses, okay? Because I do know we have some more questions. Yes.
So somewhat similar along those lines, this is a tricky market, and we've had folks in the past, one example that comes to mind, Rethink Robotics, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So what are some of the learnings from there that, you've imbibed so you don't run into the same headwinds that they did, as an example?
Well, I think for us, the key is, of our focus is actually we're making the robots moving. So we're calculating the trajectories, and we are making management of the robots real time, but we are not trying to cover everything regarding the technological operation, and that's why we're partnering with the welding companies or producing welding equipment, producing painting equipment, and that gives us an area to focus narrow to the robotic movement. I don't know if I answered the question.
I think industrial robots are pretty big kind of scale, and in terms, there's so many different industrial robots for different applications. So what's your first market?
Well, as said, we're currently supporting 3 technological operations. It's welding, painting, and cutting. But whenever we have a customer or industry which is interested to take this kind of a functionality of robot adaptability on board, we can build it in months.
Who have you identified so far? Which sector needs those 3 functions the most?
Well, actually, it's a small-scale production, small and medium-scale production. It's starting from job shops behind the corner, and in with productions like Tesla in that kind of dimensions. It's a low-volume, high-mix production.
We got a question from the floor over here. So again, name of fund, and your question, please.
Good morning. Mark Lockereff with ClearPath Partners. Very interesting, Alexander. One clarification and then a question. On the market size, I saw the numbers real quick, but it appears that this is a bottoms-up analysis that you did, right? Roughly 200,000 plus small-scale manufacturers in the world, and so I'm assuming something like an ASP of about $50,000 a year for the SaaS software that you're selling them. Is that how you get to the 10 billion?
That's absolutely correct. So on the left side, the current market is actually driven by, say, 10,000 manufacturers, and all of them are very big.
Right.
So on the right side, the potential is actually, we're talking about smaller companies or even small companies, and we're talking about several hundreds of those. And yeah, whenever we're doing some transaction, our average check will be roughly $50,000 per year.
Right. Okay, great. And so where do you draw the line between large-scale production and small series production in terms of number of units, or where is that bright line between?
Well, it's very hard to define it precisely, but let's put it this way. If you're producing more than 10 different products a year on the robotic line, you're already in a high mix production. And then the low volume or the high volume very much depends on the industry, but I think the mix is more important than the volume. And if you have a mix more than 10 products, which is suitable for robotic production, then you already have a high mix and you need the adaptability.
All right, and that's where we're going to have to wrap things up. Thank you so much, Alexander.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Well, move over Justin Bieber, because in addition to being an avid hiker, 5,000 miles in the last 5 years, he's also a Bollywood singer. And he's here to chat with you about Cupid.ai. Please put your hands together for Venki. All right, man.
Thank you. Good morning. I founded Cupid about 2.5 years ago to solve a pervasive problem in call centers, poor customer experience. A little bit about myself. I built the world's first voice-over IP telephone, multimedia, in 1997 when I was at Bell Labs. Was productized, 50 million of them have been shipped to date. At Cupid, we sell a SaaS platform to contact centers to enable them to deliver amazing customer experiences. In about less than 3/4 of selling, we have about 400K in bookings, and you can see some of the great brands that we have either as partners or live on our platform. So how does this work? I bet every one of you has at least one story of pain in contact centers. Nobody likes those pesky IVRs or music on hold. Guess what? The contact center is paying $3 a minute for you to be on that call, even if you're listening to crappy music, right? Let's show you how we solve this. By the way, this is a use case that's actually in production. It's only one of many that we have in production. What do? We intercept the call, and we deflect the experience to the surface of your mobile phone, right? We paint the UI with options that enable the customer get started off with a much richer set of choices. By the way, this UI is generated in real time by our AI engine, and it's predictive and it's contextual, right? So this happens to be a use case of a user coming in with a network issue. The UI guides them through steps of identifying the problem and guiding them to possibly solving it themselves. About 60% of the time, the customer can solve the problem and not have to get on the phone call. But if they do have to get on a phone call, we've held their place in queue, and we can seamlessly get them back to an agent. And guess what? The agent can solve the problem in about half the time that they normally would because they have great context. This actually happens to be a cookie cutter use case, and we're having fun selling it to all kinds of MSPs. Right? Everybody wants this. How does this actually work at a contact center? Our tools enable them to design this voice plus digital experience. We call it the omni-channel virtual assistant. The experience then maps to a self-service workflow engine. They could run hundreds or thousands. We have templates to get them started easily. You can build a workflow in hours, including biometrics and image recognition and everything. And our AI engine kicks in to guide the user to resolution. Right? This works on every channel: voice, email, mobile, web, even WhatsApp. Best of all, you can automate one workflow at a time on our platform. You overlay a contact center with it, get started, dramatically low barrier to entry. How do we price? Very simple. Price by workflows, by live agents, and volume of transactions. And this really aligns well to how contact centers buy and to their KPIs and ROIs. So very easy for us to sell the value proposition. This is a big industry. It represents $1 trillion of enterprise spend every year. So there's competition. But most of the competition is focused on keeping status quo and improving in niches. We fundamentally re-architect how a contact center works. We get into every element of the voice infrastructure, and we are even talking to some telcos about a couple of contracts. We also have a data engine that can ingest conversational and context data to feed the AI engine that's delivering that experience. Right? This is a seriously kick-ass product, right? And you need a seriously kick-ass team. I told you about myself. Our lead architect on this was one of the early employees at Twilio, and he was the chief architect of the Twilio platform. So we know how that works. Our head of sales, Chandra, has done 2 startup exits. He knows how to scale revenue at an early stage startup, right? So we are hitting the point where we can't stop the customers coming in. So we need to grow, and that's why we're looking for capital. And we're looking for investors who have a track record of investing successfully in startups that change entire markets. And by the way, if you're wondering what the heck does Cupid mean, in the language that I grew up speaking, Tamil, Cupidu means call. So don't call a business, Cupid them, and you'll get a great experience. Thank you.
You know, I've been doing this for a couple years. It's the first time I've heard Tamil spoken on a stage. Also, we have connected a few times in the last 24 hours. You never dropped the whole, I'm the winner of the Thomas Edison Award. I feel like that's an opening line. but that's pretty impressive. Well done. Questions from the stage? Yes, right over here.
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation. So my question is, how does setup for a new workflow looks like? Like how much time does it take? How much data you need to do that?
So you can build a simple workflow in under a minute. Just drag and drop a template, customize a few things. If you want to build a workflow that is ingesting data or integrating into an enterprise, you have to connect them to APIs and so on. On our side, it's all drag and drop, right? And then going and setting attributes and so on. So very simple, in a few minutes. If you want to take an existing complex script and put it down, it doesn't take very long. You can build, one in hours or days and test it and launch it.
So this market is clearly a very crowded market with lots of folks paying attention to it. Looks like your approach is a pretty broad one. You mentioned contact centers, the demo or the questions you showed were more IT help desk centric. So there's IT help desk, there's pretty broad, right? Yeah. So for a startup, that's typically not a good place to be, where you need some level of focus. And so my question is, what are you doing from that perspective? And then how are you going to combat, the big guys are not sitting still. We had Knowledge 2019 last week, the ServiceNow flagship event, and they're head and center in this, right, with their agents and so on and so forth. So why won't a customer just upgrade to the next version of ServiceNow and get this?
Great question. Yeah, and it is a big market, so hence the crowd, right? I mean, crowds go to big markets. So how do we differentiate? So there's, I think, 2 or 3 key elements. So ServiceNow, let's take the ServiceNow, right? ServiceNow is all about full automation, right? So you have to basically change your process to move to ServiceNow. There is still, I would say, maybe 90% of the market is still very contact center centric. Even if there's a process in the portal, the customer is going to make a call, right? So our approach is to go to the voice contact center. There are 17 million agents worldwide and about 1 trillion minutes of calls being placed. So our approach to go into that market and say, let's just fix the problem that's there, and that's not going to go away for many, many years. How do we go to them? Contact centers fundamentally buy in 2 ways. So if you're in a mid-market, the buying decision rests with the VP of customer experience, and they will try their best to learn the market and pick a vendor. If you go higher than that, contact centers buy from system integrators, right? So these guys know the technology well, they can put together solutions. So we put together, in the mid-market, we're selling directly, but we've actually put together some fantastic partnerships in the SI space. So Avaya, for example, is a global reseller of our software, as is Unisys. We have 2 other partnerships, one that we're waiting to announce. So we're going with the people who are tasked with implementing these or selling into that space as existing vendors and just overlaying them. So we have an in the market, and we have the technology that extends what they already do.
Super. Any questions from the floor? Yes, over here. It's a name of fund, and your question, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Andre Geziek. I'm an angel investor. And I was actually at IBM TJ Watson, something about what at Bell Labs. And I invested about 19 tech companies, although it's only a tiny portion of my portfolio I put on angel, about 3%. Couple of questions for your opportunity. I'll just give them right away. The first one is, you mentioned Twilio, and it seems to me this sort of technology, you have to partner with guys like that to make it work. And I think the cost is pretty high, but I want you to comment on that. And the second thing, what is the specific sales cycle to sell an opportunity like this?
And you got to answer that in 30 seconds, please.
Okay, great question. So I'm not sure I got the first part of your question. I think
Twilio, what are your Twilio costs?
Oh, my Twilio costs. So essentially, it's the enterprise that's paying the cost of the access, and they may have access through Twilio or through a service provider, so we don't get involved in that. So they already have voice access, right? We just kind of fit into that environment. How long is the sales cycle? Well, 3 quarters of selling, 10 customers. Average, we've sold a customer in as little as 1 month, and we've been working on customers for as long as 6 months. So I would say we're averaging 2 to 3 months. And through our partnerships, I think we'll reduce that a lot.
Thank you guys for your questions, and thank you, Venki. Well done.
Thank you.
Monali, did you say you did Everest Base Camp? Is that what Michael said about you? Who did the Everest Base Camp?
Yeah, that was the easy one. That was the training for Aconcagua. I submitted Aconcagua, which is highest mountain on the Western Hemisphere, 23,000 feet.
That is incredible.
So the base camp was a training for that.
Was training. This next gentleman over here is quite the adventurer. For his 50th birthday, he did the Everest Base Camp. He also Inca trailed to Machu Picchu for New Year's Eve. The rest of us are drinking, and here he is out on the Inca Trail, which is pretty remarkable. Please put your hands together for Jim.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Morning, everybody. I'm Jim Caravala, CEO and co-founder of Off-World. As my background, I've been in the space industry and technology sector for over 30 years, and have worked on the launch of over a dozen spacecraft to low Earth orbit. Off-World's role is a massive disruption of the entire industrial sector, starting off with the mining industry. Our company has built with zero investment so far. We have several $1 million in revenue, a team of 25, with our 12,000 square foot of facilities in Pasadena, outside Los Angeles. We're raising a 2 million seed and looking then for a Series A of 15 million as we expand and scale into future markets. So the big problem that we're tackling initially is that we are operating our industrial processes such as mining, construction, and other activities in an archaic model that is built on the back of, frankly, slavery, forced labor that we have worked for thousands of years. We need to change that model. We need to take people out of 19th century archaic roles, reinvigorate them with new opportunities, and replace people in these terrible conditions with new systems of fully autonomous, collaborative robotic architectures. Off-World is building those robots today. We are putting together swarms of hundreds or thousands of these machine intelligent robots that are modular, that can collaborate together, and that can create value at 1/10 of the CapEx, OpEx combined. With our robotics as a service business model, we can take and disrupt the existing $90 billion mining equipment industry and reinvigorate and redefine how we undertake these big processes. We're taking the heavy-duty, big, dumb architectures of our current industrial processes and pixelating them into a higher resolution, laparoscopic mining and industrial process architecture. This is a revolution enabled by today's technologies. How would we do these things today if we could start without legacy incumbents? We have gone from design to prototype of several species already, built on a modular platform with a common operating system to tackle any hard industrial process that is in front of us today. Right now we have robots that can excavate, dig, that can sweep, crush, and collect, and that can precondition rock so that we can have hundreds or thousands of these working autonomously in underground mines, whether they're out in the wilderness or in urban environments underneath cities. This is a disruption of not only the mining sector, but the construction sector. And with the third species that we'll be adding towards the end of this year, beginning next year, of our concentration bots, we can redefine with 3 robots the entire mining architecture. Scaling those lowers production cost. The modular platform means our NRE and incremental marginal cost for development of any number of 100 of other robot configurations is reduced to a fraction. With the development of our narrowly sliced convolutional neural nets based on our common operating system, optimizing our control robotics architectures, we can now develop tool sets and kits of an open marketplace of industrialized Lego-type robots under a common operating platform, under an open marketplace so third-party vendors can put their tools on it, so we can create really an architecture that can undertake any industrial process. Off-World has been developing these architectures in-house, end-to-end. We developed the hardware, the software, the operating system, and we have developed systems to take narrowly sliced convolutional neural nets onto robotic control architectures so that we can not only autonomously navigate with our own internal SLAM capability, simultaneous location and mapping for navigation, but we have figured out how to undertake robotic tasks with autonomous learning, and how to scale that learning, and how to take that learning that scales even to have neural nets teach other neural nets how to process. And that gives us the ability to create over a few thousand cycles, verifiable and measurable learning improvements and optimization in robotic control that is autonomously undertaken. That means now we can have hundreds of robots operating without hundreds of people doing one-to-one control. We just have operators as curators. So with that, our business model is for significant data capture across the world of where our robots are deployed. And I would like to just close by saying we have an amazing team on board, superb advisors. We scale to any other industry, and our final objective is to build infrastructure here on Earth and reach out and build civilization out into space as humanity goes to the stars. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Clearly, a man with a very small dream and ambition. I like it. Well done. All right, question over there.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
So we actually work with Caterpillar as one of our mobility partner, and we've been looking into mining and some swarm robots around the area for a while. So my question is, what's actually, you're building a lot. You're building software stack, you're building hardware too. So what's most difficult for you right now? Is it perception, planning, control? You're tackling a lot of issues at once, even though I think it's a pretty focused market.
Yes. So the key challenge we have is integration. So because we're doing both the hardware, the modular architecture, the interface methodology, the software, the controls, sensing, integrating those is the hardest part. What we try and do is pull in where we can from open source architectures on the software and machine learning side, and then build in-house when we have to. Even threading together those pieces is tough. So there is a burden, there is an overhead to integrating such a wide play, but the reward of doing that is to create a seamless capability. So we're looking to create the experience of an Apple product set with the marketplace of a Google architecture for industrial robotics.
We've got a question on the other side.
Yeah, so great presentation. It's very refreshing to see somebody building an operating system than just use the APIs and Python. So this is awesome. But why the existing companies won't build the operating system that you have? And second is, how do you do the troubleshooting? So now that humans are not going inside all the way down, if something gets stuck, how do you solve that?
Right. So the incumbents never disrupt their own sectors. Companies like Komatsu and Caterpillar are beholden to their existing supply chain and their revenue streams. For them to try and even attempt to disrupt to this scale wouldn't be within their DNA. In terms of how do we maintain and operate those systems seamlessly so that we have a 99.9% reliability at an architectural level, additional species include service bots, battery swap bots, and recovery bots. So because we're building a common operating platform, the speciation, differentiation between different architectures of robotic control and capability is actually an incremental 10% on the actual platform. So if we need to put manipulators with the ability to drag or dismantle one of the robots at the modular architectural level, they can do that underground without humans being there, bring that piece out, and then the maintenance can be done at the operations center.
And how do you dispose them? Once the work is done, can you dispose these robots, or it's going to be another pile of electronic?
They're reused. So these robots come out, and we replace the colony and put them somewhere else. It's a robotics as a service architecture. So once that mine is undertaken, or the ore body is excavated, or the building is constructed, these robots can be reused elsewhere.
All right, we've got a question.
Yeah, I have one quick follow-up. Great presentation. I was a little surprised about the amount of money you're trying to raise. So if you can just give me some color on your ARR for this year, or what your target revenue is this year, next year, and then what you're planning to do from a fundraising perspective.
Yeah. So our target revenues from our known sources next year, or our target income, is about $14 million US. We expect from our first anchor clients, we're only customer-driven right now in terms of capitalization. So from our first clients, we're looking at a revenue of somewhere between 150 to 200 million around the 2023 timeframe as we go into full deployment. This takes time. That's why the timescales are long, although in the mining sector, you can traditionally develop a new architecture in 14, 15 years. We're doing that in a tenth of the time. So those figures are just from our existing client contracts right now. We are also expanding into construction and infrastructure, so there are more customers coming on board. The reason the ask for the financing is so low is because we are targeting the investment, particularly for the scaling pieces of the common operating system platform, and then building up from there. So we've grown this company over nearly 4 years without any investment and without any debt, and we've been profitable from day one. We're continuing on that very prudent management. We have a very experienced leadership team and a fantastic set of engineers. And so we're just taking it step by step, and we're ready to make sure we get these first principles right and then scale into a multi-billion-dollar company to totally disrupt and own this sector.
Jim, I know there's a question over there and a question over there, but we've run out of time, so I'm going to ask you to go and chat with these two gentlemen, please, to take their questions. But well done. Give them a hand, please. Nice presentation. So just these two at these tables, please do chat with them. And guys, please be filling in your views on each of the startups. Let us know what you think. And remember, everyone with a little cash in their hand, hand it over to any idea that you think is the best in this group so far. Okay, we've got one more for this category. I mentioned earlier that Justin Bieber was a threat by a Bollywood singer, and now I'm a threat because this guy is also an anchor on ZTV, which is pretty cool. He's also a drummer and a singer, and he can do it simultaneously, which is quite difficult. Please put your hands together for Raj.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody is doing good. I'm Raj Pofle. I'm the CEO and founder of Claim Genius. We are focused on automotive insurance industry. Our vision is to make the automobile claim processing as touchless as possible with the power of AI, of course. So what that means for a consumer like us is a delay in claim settlement and a continuous back and forth follow-up with the insurance companies. But what it means to the insurance companies, they are suffering through this whole process. Lack of technology, a very inefficient process. They are spending about 5 to 10 days to process one claim, to do the assessment on the claim. They're spending about $400 to $600 per claim. They're spending money on the storages, the manual appraisers, and the towing and other administrative costs. Results into $50 billion spending every year. There are 25 million claims get processed in US every year, 100 million claims globally. So this industry needs and help. That's where Claim Genius comes into the picture. We have built a deep learning computer vision AI platform and a white label mobile app that we provide it to the insurance companies. So when you get into the accident and you report a claim, you take your mobile phone out, take the pictures or the video of this vehicle, and submit the claim. Rest of the thing is done by our AI platform. Within 20 seconds, we do the damage assessment on this vehicle. We tell you if that vehicle is a total loss and what's the value of that vehicle. If not, what it needs to take to repair this vehicle. What are the different parts that need to be replaced or repair, what it costs you. We also go further to say, what is the possibility of the hidden damages, the internal damages for this vehicle? So that saves the insurance companies a ton of money and over 50% of the time that they are taking right now. I spoke in 3 conferences last year and resulted into 9 proof of concepts and the pilots across the globe. One of the largest claim processor in US, Crawford, is our customer, already have a signed contract with them. We are working with the large insurance carriers in Japan, in India, and in Latin America. We have 4 sales partnership with multinational technology companies. And 2 of our pilot customers are on the verge of conversion as an actual commercial contract by Q3. Our model is very simple. We are providing a license and a subscription-based model in different parts of the world with about $30 to $50 per claim, which means for a mid-sized insurance carrier, our revenue ticket size is about $2 to $4 million. About 65 to 70% of the claims are always into that fender bender category. The AI that we have literally determines scratches and the dents and the cosmetic damages on that vehicle, so we can automate 75% of the claims in this space. Not only that, we can also automate the policy underwriting process by using our damage assessment and give you a pre-accidental versus the post-accidental comparison between the damages, so the insurance companies can save money, because a lot of people, they do fraud. They accumulate the damages and report it as a claim. So we automate the entire process. We also expedite, by using our AI, how to triage some of the claims that the human eyes needs to be reviewed. We have a pretty strong team. I was head of technology for one of the vertical at NASDAQ. Our CTO is a PhD in computer science and an AI expert. We have a board of advisors from the insurance industry with over 30 to 35 years of experience. And we have a pretty experienced development team in India, about 35 to 40 people in Hyderabad and in Nagpur. We do have a little competition, but we are different than our competition. Our AI models are pretty generic, and it works in US as well as in other part of the world. Our data has been millions of images, over 75 million part images that we have, that our AI algorithms are trained on. We are real time. We have a rapid onboarding process for our clients, and our cost of operations is very low. Our margins on our claim processing very high, because our claim processing takes literally few cents. We have raised 2.2 million so far in seed, and we are asking for 3.5 to fund our sales and marketing operations and continue our tractions, and then spend money, obviously, on the product development. And we are very well positioned for a future in this domain itself, salvage and recycling industry, and leasing and rental car and used car deals as well. Thank you so much.
All right, well done.
If you need more so ride the wave of this tsunami, as Ishwar said, and disrupt this auto insurance industry and earn some good money. I have a booth in there. You can stop by. Thank you.
All right, Raj. Questions? Who's got a question up on stage? Yes.
Ken.
Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
So what did you learn from your POC result today?
So the learning is, obviously, the technology is evolving, and the insurance carriers, they want to test this, right? So a lot of them are basically trying the pre-inspection as a low-hanging fruit and the low-risk area to try our technology, and that's what it is resulting into the actual commercial convergence. So most of the POCs that we are working in Asia, they are into the pre-inspection area.
So again, good presentation, very good presentation. Question, so the application of AI in this case is really about classification of the incidents and also identifying the solutions that come with it. Do you have any more, and I've seen that many, many times, so do you have any more additional secret sauce that sets you apart?
Absolutely. So when you say classification, let's say total loss and non-total loss, that's in classification. When it comes to determination of the scratches and the dents and the cracks, that's not in classification, right? So, and then the damages are different. You have to also identify what is the severity. Is it a metal sheet damages or is it a chassis damage? So all those are a very complex problem to solve. Plus, what is the internal damages, right? How much of an internal hidden damages that you have? So that is another challenging problem, and that's where the secret sauce is. And obviously, the expertise on subject matter expertise that you need on your team.
And how about the personal injury? I think AI can play a big role there, but I haven't seen anyone do anything.
Right. So basically, what we are planning is to integrate the telematics data and the G-force data, so we would know that which angle the accident had happened and what impact and the force it had been occurred. So that leads into that injury prediction, which is already on our roadmap, as I had shown in my previous slide. So that's there.
Raj, question on this side?
Very big market. My question is that how is your competitive market looks like? And the second question related to that, for customer acquisition, what's your plan for this year?
Right. So the first question about the competition, right? So we have one startup which is from Europe. They are our direct competitor. The two competitors that I had listed on my earlier slide, basically they have some human sitting behind who actually looks at these pictures and does the assessment. CCC is another competitor. They are just doing the classification, as she said, it's in total loss versus non-total loss. So nobody is right at this time is in real time. So that's an advantage for us. What was the second question, if I'm? Customer acquisition. So basically, as I said, the 9 pilots that is going on and the proof of concept, 2 of the customers are converting into the actual commercial engagement by next quarter.
All right, we have a question down here and over there. So really quick responses. Let's get a mic to you.
Sure.
Name again, please.
Hi there. How do you feed back into the underwriting phase?
Great question. So basically, our platform does give you a tool where you can say that this is right versus this is wrong. So we have an active learning feedback loop integrated into our platform, and our algorithm learns out of that.
And if we can pass the mic right to there, thank you.
Mary Jo Potter, Karetsu. What are your possible exits and in what kind of time frame?
Right. So we are looking to grow this business to about $50–60 million by 2023, and that's what we are looking to have get acquired by some of the corporate partners that we are looking at right now. That's our exit plan.
All right. And super fast, please.
Super fast. Andre Geziek, angel investor. What are the barriers to entry?
The barriers of the entry is the large data size, and that's where other people would not be able to enter into this market. Through our partnerships, we have got millions and millions of images. As I said, 75 million images just for the parts. And obviously, the subject matter expertise. So a lot of other people are just trying to do a college kind of a product where we have literally productized this whole concept.
Raj, thank you so much.
Thank
Well
you so
done.
much.
Let's
I
give
hope
him a hand.
I'm not taking your job.
I hope so too. Okay, really quickly before we move on, can I have that mic, Anastasia? Mic, please. Thank you. Can you just quickly give your name and the fund that you represent, please?
Sure.
And then do like the Queen of England wave. So just turn around and, yes, there we go. Perfect.
Hi, everyone. My name's Allison Steets. I'm with Blue Run Ventures. We're a Series A VC based in Menlo Park.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. Andre Geziek, angel investor.
Hey, Elia Pavlos, Stanislavski Ventures, Wagon and startups from Europe to US.
All right.
Mary Jo Potter, Karetsu, and Healthcare Angels, Healthcare Investing, Series Pre-Seed, Seed, and Series A.
Great.
Hi, Ilana Golan, Home Run Ventures. We're focusing on accelerating Israeli companies here in North America.
Cool. We're actually going to have a conversation about Israel and cybersecurity in a second. Yes?
Strusoff from Menlo Park, angel investor.
Hi, Nick Davidov, Gagarin Capital, Seed AI Investments.
Hi, I'm Stan Nevedomsky, angel investor.
Steve Austin, Sapient Ventures, seed level.
All right. None of you did the Queen of England wave, people. Come on. Here we go. All right.
Hi everyone, Itai Maron from Heroic Ventures, together with Michael, doing first money investments and formation investments here in Silicon Valley and in Israeli companies.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's go real quickly over here. If you would introduce yourself again, please.
Hi, Mark Lockhart with ClearPath Partners, angel investor, and then I'm also a venture partner with Black River Ventures in Europe, where we are mid-stage investors both in Europe and in the US.
Fantastic. Can we give a quick, big hand to all of these investors and all of you? You guys are now free.